A2 English, My Favorite Book, Part 1. Hello, my name is Jane and I am your English teacher today. Today we are going to learn about different types of books or films, questions to ask about books, and I'm going to tell you about my favorite book. In part 2 of this lesson, we will look at the verb tenses we use to tell a story. So one of my hobbies is reading. Do you like reading? My favorite book is called All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, an American author. I have read it 5 times. Have you got a favorite book or film? What sort of books do you like reading? Do you like reading non-fiction? Stories that are filled with facts and information about real people, places, things and events. For example, a biography, an autobiography about a person's life, or history. Or do you prefer reading fiction? Novels, etc. Fiction is stories that have made up imaginary characters and events. And within fiction, there are different genres. What genre is it? What type of book is it? Look at these six pictures, stop the video, look at them and decide what sort of book it is. What genre is it? Let's do it together. The first one at the top, it's a love story or romance. The Man Climbing the Mountain, it's an adventure or action story. Harry Potter, it's a fantasy. It has a magical element to it. At the bottom, The Man with the Magnifying Glass. It's a detective or crime story or a thriller. Next to that is historical fiction. That is a novel set in a time in the past. And then science fiction. Science fiction, usually a novel set in the future. So which genre do you like best? Questions to ask about a book. What is the title and who wrote it are important questions, but there are other questions. Can you look at these question words and see if you can finish the sentence, finish the question? What sort of, when, where, who are the main, what is it about, what is? Stop the video and see if you can make some questions. Then we'll do it together. What sort of book is it? What genre is it? When does it take place? Where does it take place? Where is it set? That has the same meaning. Who are the main characters? And what is it about? What is the plot? What is the story? Stop the video and read those questions again. Good. So what sort of book is it? What genre is it? I'm going to tell you about my favorite book, All the Light We Cannot See. It is historical fiction. It is set at a time in the past. It also has a fantasy storyline, a magical element to it. When does it take place? The story takes place in the Second World War, between 1940 and 1945. Where does it take place? The story starts in Paris, where a young French girl was living with her father. Because of the war, they then had to move to Saint-Malo in Brittany on the north coast of France. You can see those two places in the map. So, Saint-Malo. Saint-Malo is a beautiful old walled town by the sea in the north of France. The story also takes place in Germany, where an orphan boy called Werner was living with his sister in an orphanage. Who are the main characters? The main character is Marie-Laure, a young French girl who was living with her father in Paris. He was very devoted to his daughter, who was blind. Blind is someone who can't see. The other main character is Werner. He was an orphan who was living with his sister in an orphanage in Germany. An orphan is someone with no parents. What is the book about? What is the plot? Marie-Laure and her father were living in Paris when the German army invaded in 1940. Quickly, they packed a suitcase, left their flat, and caught the last train to Saint-Malo. Marie-Laure and her father were lucky. In Saint-Malo, her father had a brother who invited them to stay with him. He lived in a big house by the sea and had a housekeeper to cook for him. Marie-Laure's uncle was eccentric. He was a radio enthusiast who kept a powerful radio in the attic, from where he broadcast programs of music and science to the world. Meanwhile, in Germany, Werner was living in his orphanage and listening to the radio at night. Interested in science and music, he heard all the radio broadcasts sent out by Marie-Laure's uncle in Saint-Malo. Werner was clever. He taught himself how to build and repair radios, and the German army recognized these skills. They gave him special training so that he could work for them. The German army wanted him to track down radios that were sending secret messages to their enemies in the war. The army ordered Werner to do this work. He felt that he didn't have a choice. So, while Marie-Laure was living in Saint-Malo, she started to help the French resistance by sending secret radio messages to the British on the other side of the English Channel. And eventually Werner arrived in Saint-Malo to track down the last illegal radio still in operation. And, of course, it belonged to Marie-Laure. One day Werner was searching the streets when Marie-Laure appeared at her front door. When Marie-Laure came out of her front door, Werner knew she was the radio operator he was looking for. He noticed she was blind, and at that moment he fell in love with this lovely, brave French girl. Werner decided to help Marie-Laure. At first, she was scared of a German soldier, but somehow she felt she could trust him. She invited him into her house, and together they shared the last precious jar of peaches left by her uncle's housekeeper. It was very sad for both of them when, at the end of the day, they knew they had to go their separate ways. What about the fantasy storyline? Well, in Paris, Marie-Laure's father worked at the Natural History Museum, where they kept a huge ancient diamond with a legend. The legend said that the person looking after the diamond would always be safe, and this is the magical element of the story. The museum director gave the diamond to Marie-Laure's father to look after during the war, and he hid it in his daughter's bedroom. Meanwhile, a wicked treasure-hunting Nazi heard about it and tracked it to Saint-Malo. Luckily, Werner was looking after Marie-Laure when the treasure hunter broke into her house and demanded the diamond. There was a fight, but Werner and Marie-Laure managed to escape with the diamond. Together, they went to some rocks on the coast and threw the diamond into the sea. Thank you for listening to my story, and now some vocabulary. You might not know these words, so an attic, an orphanage, an eccentric person, a radio enthusiast, radio broadcasts, to track down, French resistance. So an attic, the top room of a house, an orphanage, a home for orphans, an eccentric person, an unusual person, a radio enthusiast, someone who loves radios, radio broadcasts, radio programs, to track down, to look for and find, French resistance, French people fighting against the German occupation in the war. And also scared, precious, a legend, to manage to escape, wicked, and eventually. Scared means frightened, precious, very valuable. A legend is a traditional story that is not based on facts. It's not true. To manage to escape, to succeed in escaping, wicked, bad, eventually, in the end. Good. What did you like and not like about the book? If you ask me this, I would say I really liked the main characters, and from the beginning I wanted them to do well and be happy. The language is really vivid and beautiful. I didn't like the ending. I would like a more romantic ending. I would like Marie-Laure and Werner to stay together at the end. So tell me about your favourite book or film. Complete these questions. What is the, who wrote, what is it, where does it, when does it, who are the main, what is the, what did you like and not like? Can you remember these questions? What is the title? Who wrote it? What genre is it? Where does it take place? When does it take place? Who are the main characters? What is the plot? And what did you like and not like about it? Stop the video, think about your favourite book or film, and answer these questions about it, and then tell a friend. In part 2 of this lesson, we will learn about the different tenses we use to tell a story, the past simple and the past continuous. I hope you've enjoyed the lesson. Goodbye for now.